It took a full 18 days before the Soviet leader Mikhail...
Soviet nuclear accident in the Ukraine created...
On April 26, 1986, a nuclear accident occurred at reactor number 4 of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant near the city of Pripyat in the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, which was then part of the Soviet Union. The accident is one of the largest nuclear disasters ever to occur according to the International Nuclear Event Scale. The Chernobyl disaster was rated at level 7, the highest classification on the scale. Only 2 nuclear disasters have been classified at this level: the Chernobyl disaster and the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear accidents that occurred in 2011. In terms of cost and casualties, it is considered one of the 2 worst nuclear disasters in history. April 26, 1986. A quiet spring night settled over the city of Pripyat, home to nearly 50,000 people, families of the workers at the nearby Chernobyl nuclear power plant. While the city slept, inside reactor number 4, a routine safety test was underway. A test that had already failed 3 times before. This time, it would end in catastrophe. The purpose of the test seemed simple: to determine how long the reactor's turbines could keep generating electricity after a sudden power outage. But the timing of the experiment, combined with poor preparation and human error, created the perfect storm. Hours before the test began, the reactor's output was reduced from its full 3,200 megawatts down to 1,600. The drop in power caused an accumulation of xenon-135 gas, a substance that poisoned the reactor by absorbing neutrons. When the operators tried to increase the power again, they found themselves trapped. Instead of stabilizing, the reactor dropped even further, well below the safe threshold of 700 megawatts. To bring the power back up, engineers withdrew almost all of the control rods, the very tools designed to regulate the chain reaction. 205 out of 211 rods were pulled completely out. It was a direct violation of protocol. But under the order of Deputy Chief Engineer Anatoly Dyatlov, the test continued. Shortly after 1 a.m., the reactor was highly unstable. Then it happened. A sudden surge. Alarms blared. In desperation, the operators pressed the AZ5 button, the emergency shutdown. This command inserted all control rods back into the core at once. But there was a fatal design flaw. The rods were tipped with graphite, and when the graphite entered first, it increased reactivity instead of suppressing it. Within seconds, the reactor spiraled out of control. At 1:23 a.m., the unthinkable happened. A massive explosion shook the night. The reactor core was torn apart. A second blast followed, launching burning graphite blocks and radioactive fuel into the air. The roof was destroyed. Flames lit up the darkness, and a deadly plume of radioactive particles began to rise into the atmosphere. The fire burned for 9 days, releasing an amount of radiation hundreds of times greater than the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The fallout spread across Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia, then drifted across Europe. Sweden was the first to detect unusual radiation levels, forcing the Soviet Union to admit that a disaster had occurred. Pripyat, just 3 kilometers away, was not evacuated immediately. Residents watched the glowing reactor from their balconies, unaware of the invisible danger in the air. Children played outside. People went about their day. Only 36 hours later, buses rolled in. The 49,000 residents were told to leave their homes, just for a few days, but they never returned. Over time, more than 350,000 people were relocated from contaminated areas. Belarus suffered the most, receiving around 60% of the fallout. The human cost was immense. Firefighters and plant workers who rushed in to fight the blaze were exposed to lethal doses of radiation. Many died within weeks from acute radiation syndrome. Thousands more would suffer long-term effects. By 2008, international studies confirmed at least 4,000 deaths linked directly to radiation exposure. Other organizations reported far higher numbers, tens of thousands of potential cancer cases. Greenpeace even estimated that over 200,000 people might ultimately be affected. Children in Belarus, Ukraine, and Russia faced a surge in thyroid cancer, directly linked to radioactive iodine released from the explosion. Families were torn apart. Generations would carry the health consequences of that night.
Beyond the human toll, Chernobyl revealed the dangers of secrecy and denial. For days, Soviet authorities hid the scale of the disaster. Even under glasnost, the truth came too slowly. The world saw not just a nuclear accident, but a system unprepared to face it. Today, the Chernobyl exclusion zone is frozen in time. Pripyat stands abandoned, empty schools, silent playgrounds, lifeless apartments. Nature has reclaimed the streets, and wildlife thrives where humans cannot. A haunting reminder of how quickly life can vanish. Chernobyl was more than an accident. It was a turning point in history, born of human error, failed safety, and flawed technology. A story of sacrifice, of firefighters, engineers, and ordinary people who paid the ultimate price. And a warning to the world. Once unleashed, some mistakes echo for generations.